So Héctor Pesquera, the Director of Public Safety, is joining us. It was his office that put out the information that 911 cremations had been authorized, and these were of natural deaths, we were told. That was a couple of weeks that it came out, and a couple of weeks ago, and I've been wanting to follow up with the Secretary, and he's joining us now to answer some questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the invite.
First of all, of the 911 deaths, how can you be certain that those are natural?
Okay, well, there is a process, obviously. Let's say a person dies at the hospital, for example. So the attending physician will sign the death certificate, and he will write there the cause of death. Then that particular document now is sent to, depending on what the family wishes are, cremation or interment. If it's cremation, it goes to the Institute of Forensic Science, which is a medical examiner's office. They review it based on the information. They review what the doctor says, and then they give the permission for the demographic or the Bureau of Vital Statistics to officially give them a permit for cremation. In the cremation aspect itself, the family members sign a piece of paper saying that they agree with the death certificate of what the doctor wrote. So there's a family member, should we say, interaction between the doctor that signed the death certificate and the family member as to their wishes, and they said they agree with it, and the permit is issued.
So your suggestion is we should take the doctor at face value and believe what they're saying?
The law requires that. If you're reviewing information and there's a doctor that puts his signature there facing any type of disciplinary or civil action because of anything improper that he did, I mean, yes, I mean that's the way it works. It's like when you sign a prescription and the doctor gives a prescription to the wrong person. Well, the signature is there. There are some repercussions, assuming that something is wrong in the process. But the law says that they need to sign the death certificate. They need to put that whatever they think the cause of the death was. But there's a particular part in the form that they fill that says, is any other contributing factor other than the cause of death in the certificate? That's the part where we would expect that the doctor, assuming in this case where you're coming from is that, let's say the person died, yes, because of say the power went off, and so all of a sudden they was receiving something with an electrical equipment attached to it, a respirator or something, and that happened. The doctor's responsible. The doctor's responsibility is to put that in that. There is a space for that in the death certificate. That should be then put in there, and then when it comes into the medical examiner's office, when they see that, particularly when there's an event prior to, they see that, or during the event, they see that, then they will qualify as an indirect cause of death based on the hurricane, in this case, Maria.
What about all these rumors, and I use the word rumor because I haven't been able to prove it, but what about all these rumors of people having died and been buried before you ever found out about it?
Well, you just made my day. If you, with the credibility that you have not been able to find it, imagine that. Because I know how good you are and how thorough you are. And the rumors start coming in. I have no idea why they started. Quite frankly, I cannot even fathom why those rumors started at all.
But did you investigate?
Yes, particularly the one with the 200 people buried in a landslide that came in from all of a sudden, at one place where there had been a landslide, by the way, and 3 people had died.
Where was that?
Utuado.
Oh, that's where the sisters died.
Yes, right. Yeah. So
yeah.
All of a sudden, when you get that information coming in, and so 200 died, so, oh my God, it couldn't happen. Because we knew that it happened on 3. So we were all, really on eggshells when that happened. But we dispatched our search and rescue team, and sure enough, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
So in cases like this where, we're not medical investigators, we don't have the ability to go in and look through medical records, I would come to you and I would say, with the authority invested in you, what have you done to look into it? So again, to clear the record, based on the rumors, of people having been buried, right? Like died at their house, family members dug a hole in the backyard and buried them. Yeah. You have not been able to confirm one case of that on the island?
That is correct. In fact, there's a particular case in Vieques where they said that 2 people were buried in the backyards, if you will, and not buried. So the demographic, the Bureau of Vital Statistics people dispatch a team Not only did they find that they were buried in a cemetery, but they also found the death certificate and everything was proper, everything was it. And yet they pointed out to those two cases like that, the rumors. I can't tell it why.
How many people died after Maria that you can certify as being a storm-related death?
Storm-related or indirectly related, 55.
55.
Yes, sir.
What would be an indirectly related death?
Indirectly related would be someone driving. All of a sudden, they don't notice that they missed that the road caved in, and they plunge into the abyss, if you will, and they die. That will be an indirect cause.
Direct would be?
Direct will be you're working, to put your storm shutters. The wind is blowing. It blows you down, from the second story, and you die.
How many cases involve people who ran out of electricity and were on oxygen and died, for example, because of that?
I don't think, I'm speaking from memory. I don't recall that there's any of those. I will have to double check and I'll get back to you. I don't recall any of those, that the electricity went out. I know that there were some cases where they said that in an elderly home, something like that happened. We went there, and incidentally, in the elderly home, there's a similar process. The family members have to sign that the person died and that they agree with the death certificate, the same process, but a separate piece of paper. I agree that the above mentioned deaths occur, because of the reason stated by the physician. It's specifically addressed to that.
So when someone dies on this island, does every death on this island have to be investigated by the medical examiner?
No.
Okay.
There's only those where, let's say, for example, the attending physician has doubts as to what happened. He could not put a definitive answer, so he would say, I need an autopsy. There may be a situation where the district attorney, who has to see all those deaths, say, well, I'm not too sure about this one. He orders it. He could order the autopsy, he could order toxicology, he could order all kinds of stuff. And then those who all of a sudden are found and no one can tell what happened, and they're there. So most likely they'll send it to the medical examiner for an autopsy.
And by the way, I have not had any medical physician come to me and say there have been deaths that were hurricane related but are not being factored into the count. And if anyone has that information, I would ask you to provide it to me, but no one has done so.
Likewise, I would like to know myself too, and we would definitely investigate it.
There have been, most recently, the New York Times had a report out where they interviewed some of the funeral directors. And I don't have the quotes from the article, but surely you have heard where funeral directors around the island had mentioned that there may have been deaths, but even the funeral directors weren't sure whether they were factored into the government's count or not. Have you spoken, has your staff, has the medical examiner staff spoken with any of the funeral directors around the island?
Well, not only, yes, the answer is yes, but not all of them, but some of them.
How many?
I can't give you the figure.
Where?
But well, I can give you the particulars.
Yep.
But not only that, but the president of the Funeral Home Association came over to the medical examiner, and he started calling people, provided there was communication, and trying to ascertain if that was the case. And there was not one single case. He was there yesterday at the press conference. There was no single case of a funeral director saying, I think this happened because of this, but he could offer any proof. It's like challenging a death certificate from a doctor without any substantiated information.
Because communication on the island is so tough, even 50 days after Maria in some places, is there a chance that there's an area on the island that you have not been able to get to or speak with officials there?
No.
That may lead you to believe the death count could be higher?
No, I don't think so. And the reason why I say so is because we're in constant contact with all the mayors. The mayors know their municipalities. The mayor, 4 years before being elected, they walk. They don't even drive. They walk all their areas. They walk their alleys. They walk streets. They work neighborhoods. They work projects trying to get votes. So they know their area. And we have ascertained from them, plus our search and rescue team, both in-ground and aerial, because we've done both, that we are almost certain, well, to the extent we can certainly say we don't know of any area that has been impacted that we don't know of.
I want to read a quote that was attributed to you that came out. There was a press conference yesterday that the Secretary and other officials spoke at. It was in Spanish. And unfortunately, I do not speak Spanish, so I asked the Secretary for time to discuss this in English. There's a quote in the AP that says, Héctor Pesquera, Secretary of Puerto Rico's Department of Public Safety, acknowledged that some deaths classified as natural possibly might have been linked to the hurricane. Quote, yes, that could have happened. We cannot deny that categorically.
No, that's not an accurate quote. That should not be a quote. It could make it maybe a paraphrasing. What I said was, to the question is, could it happen? Could it happen that the doctor never put in on the right cause? Sure, it could happen.
Say that again.
That the doctor, when he signed the death certificate, did not went down to the next blank and said this was caused because of this. The person died because of a heart attack. However, in the next slot, I can show you the document. In the next slot, it says, was any contributing factor to the cause of death? Specifically a question. If it's not there, there's no way.
So
could it happen?
Let's review this again. So there's a piece of paper that says John Doe died.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bottom part of the paper that says John Doe died because of a circumstance that, I can't certify or I'm suspicious about. And that's the red flag for you guys,
Absolutely.
right? So you're saying to us that there could have been a doctor who signed the top of the form, but didn't sign the bottom of the form, which would have acknowledged we need to do further investigation.
In the world possibility, that's possible.
Have you gone back and checked the papers to see if the bottom parts of any forms were not filled out?
No. Can I show you?
Please.
Let me show you what it is.
Or let me ask it this way.
Okay.
If the doctor wasn't suspicious, I guess he just wouldn't fill out the bottom form. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so he would only fill it out if he were suspicious that there was something not natural about the death. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And therefore, when they signed it, it says immediate cause of death. So okay, well, he would put in whatever it was. Let's say heart attack. But then there is another final cause of death. Right. Okay, and there is one in here that would indicate, okay, was there any contributing factor? Right. And this is the death certificate. When this comes in, because this comes into the medical examiner, let's say cremation, this comes in with the medical examiner, and he reviews it. The ME itself, the pathologist, reviews. If he's got something in here that doesn't quite fit, he'll immediately do the autopsy. He will not authorize the cremation. So there is a check and balance, but it's all based on the physician putting down the accurate information.
911 cremations were
Yes.
authorized following Hurricane Maria. Do you believe that those 911 cremations all involve natural deaths that were not storm related?
Well, no, it doesn't need, well, I have no reason to believe otherwise. How about that one? I don't have any reason to believe otherwise, because the process is such. There's a check and balance. There's a physician statement. There is a pathologist that reviews the statement, reviews the death certificate, and says, okay, you have the permit. You're authorized to cremate your body. Now remember this. There's one particular aspect of this that is crucial, and nobody has kind of zeroed in on it. Because I understand where the question is coming. Don't get me wrong. I do understand, and the question is valid.
When you let me. I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to just ask a follow-up right here because it's important. When you got the number of 911, and it said natural deaths authorized for cremation, did you question that?
No.
You did?
No, because I have no basis to question it. Because let me tell you, because there's one aspect, and I'm glad you asked that question, because there's one crucial aspect that people keep missing, and here it is. It is the family member who's asking for cremation. It is the family member. If I know that one of my family members died because he had a heart attack as a result of not having electricity, rest assured that the family member in that form is going to say, yes, he died of a heart attack. However, it is a family member. Yeah. It's not in a vacuum, like from the hospital to the medical examiner. The family member must sign and agree to it. That's the missing link. So now I'm going to challenge now the physician that signed the death certificate, and now I'm going to challenge the family members who said, you both are wrong. We're going to investigate this. It doesn't click. I mean, really.
Has any family member come back and said, oh, there was a mistake, my family member did die and I believe it was storm related?
No,
Have
sir.
any of the 911 natural deaths, a family member come back and questioned things?
No, sir. Not that I'm aware. No, sir.
What haven't I asked that you want to add?
Well, my issue in all this is, and I know that it has caused some undue attention on this matter, but my point is, I mean, I cannot understand, I cannot fathom why is it that people think that the death count is inaccurate, whether it's low or high. I see no purpose on us government, me personally, of course, I'm included in this thing, saying that there's an inaccurate number. If we will report it, why wouldn't we report it? I don't understand. I can understand why people think, well, 900 people were cremated. Okay, but fine. But look at it in the context that 2,500 people die every month. So when you see 25 people dying every month and 900 people cremated, that's not a big deal, because statewide, 48% of the people are cremated.
Here's how I would respond to that. You were a man of the FBI before
Yes.
you became secretary. Like a journalist, you're skeptical, right? You're
Yes.
skeptical of things you hear.
Yes, of course.
So I think that's what people are thinking.
Okay.
On an island that has been ripe with corruption,
Sure.
in a situation like this,
Yes, sir.
I think it's understandable to think why people would go.
Well, but I don't understand what would be, in whose best interest would be not to report accurate information. It doesn't make any sense, David. It really doesn't. In my book, it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a fact that if you report X amount, you will get this benefit. If you report this amount, well, you're gonna be penalized. It doesn't make any sense. And we would not play with the people's sensitivity to say that people died and they don't die of the cause. It doesn't make any sense.
Does it offend you? that-
It does. It does. Personally, yes. I take it as a personal offense because, of course, I don't do the review, but I am the one that say yes, and I ask a lot of questions. Trust me, because when they come in here, I ask a lot of questions, and in some cases.
But like what? I think people want to know what questions.
Well,
did you
one
ask?
question is that why wasn't this related? Okay, because I've got questions. I have incidents where, for example, I can give you one that is right now under review.
Okay.
How about that one?
Okay.
There's an individual that had an injury in an arm. All right, that it developed into an infection. All right. He was treated for the infection and released, and then he came back and he died. He died of respiratory causes.
Mm.
My question to them is, does the infection that he had in his arm has any relationship whatsoever to the respiratory cause that was a real cause of death?
Mm-hmm.
Show me why not. That case is still under review. So I'm told, no, it doesn't look like it. I said, no, I want to make a final determination with a doctor telling me this did not cause this. Because this is the case right now, and I ask the questions. I'm not a physician, obviously, but I do the skepticism,
Yeah.
particularly in the situations where we are. I want to make sure we don't miss any. But then again, we work on facts. We cannot work on presumptions, assumptions, thinks, I think, I believe. No. Funeral directors, like the rumors we think that these people death are related. Doesn't work that way. Tell me why. Come on, and again, don't miss the family link in the thing. Don't lose perspective that the family members can always come in and say, excuse me, that's not the case.
How many people died from leptospirosis?
4.
4. How many tests are pending? Do you know how many specimens have been sent for evaluation to the CDC?
No, I don't know. No, but I tell you that when those 4 deaths were certified by CDC, there were about 12 to 15 clinical cases. And I've learned a lot of it. I'm not a physician, but I learned a lot. I had to, because when a person shows some signs that it could be leptos, then they immediately submit the thing, because leptos could be, should we say, hidden behind dengue.
Dengue.
Right.
Right.
So, but the state epidemiologists have given instruction to all the hospitals, and in each hospital, also I learned, there's an epidemiologist. So they made it aware that because of the hurricane now, that from now on, from the hurricane on, if there is a particular doubt as to whether it's dengue or something else, CDC.
Wrapping up, let me ask you some important follow-up questions. If a doctor watches this interview and says, I signed a death certificate, and I actually think that the person who came in who had a heart attack, it was probably related to the stress of the moment as the
Sure.
hurricane was back. Is there a way for a medical provider to follow up?
Absolutely, I will.
And say, I would like to add to my report or amend my report?
By all means, if he and I'll tell you right now, call me, please.
Okay.
Call me, and I will make it happen.
Okay.
And by the way, there was a case like that. There was
Really?
Yes, there was a case like not that the physician came back, but that the person suffered a heart attack because he could not take it, and we counted.
As a storm-related
Absolutely,
death?
absolutely.
Okay. Some of the figures here. The island had an average of 82 deaths a day in the 2 weeks before Maria hit. The average increased to 117 deaths a day through the rest of the month, but then fell below the usual in October. Is that correct?
Well, I'll take it at face value. I don't remember,
Well,
but yes, I think the numbers.
And again, the death count is 55.
That is correct.
And are all of those storm related? All of the 55 are all storm related?
Directly or indirectly, yes.
Directly or indirectly, okay. And again, the figures of 1,000 here, 2,000 there, no one has brought information to me that I could then bring to the secretary and say, what about this? You know, I'm sort of going off just messages of people saying, I heard this, I heard that.
And I welcome that information.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I think that's it. Thank you for your time.
The other way around, I thank you very much because like I said, I like to put this to rest at one point, and your vehicle to put this to rest. Hopefully, it will work. But I want to reiterate it again. If there's any information that anyone has there, call it. I'll follow it. I'll give you my word that I follow it. We want to make sure that we report as accurate as we can. But right now, based on factual information, 55 we stand.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
It's always a pleasure, David. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Stay put for a second.
Chris, is there any question I didn't?
Nope, not at all. Very interesting. Thanks for taking the
Just,
time.
David, just a long question so I can
Sure.
right side listen.
And if it were to, like, what are the next, I mean, I guess there wouldn't be, based on this interview that we've done today, there's really not a whole lot of information that could come in now that would make the death toll go much higher, right? I mean, is there anybody who would not have reported by this point?
No, well, there could be situations, for example, that somebody had some kind of a trauma,
Yeah.
sent back home, and a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month later, develop something out of that one that may cause it. There's always a possibility. The leptos could still happen,
Yes.
and we will count them.
But you know what, and the reason I asked about lepto is because last week I got a message. There was a family in Ponce which had posted a message, you may have seen it, of a young woman in her 20s who died, and the family said, I got the message and they said, a lepto case. Well, I can't prove that that's a lepto case. The family thinks it's a lepto case, and you know what? It's eerily similar to a case that we had gone to Canóvanas, where a man went to the hospital. They told him he had dengue. They sent him home. 48 hours he went back to the hospital and died the same day.
Yes, yeah.
And the same thing happened apparently with this little girl, young girl. But again, it's not, I can't, when I get those messages from people, I can't run and report that without checking. And as you know, the lepto confirmation takes, I mean, it's got to go to Atlanta. It's got to be run.
It has to be. There's a presumptive test. I think that the CDC does locally.
Right.
But the final words are there.
But what's the formal turnaround usually? Is it?
I think it's about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Okay.
if I'm not
All right.
mistaken.
Thank you for your time.
You're always welcome.
Thank you very much.
Great.